Today we are diving deep into the heart of a blast furnace to unravel the incredible journey of how solid raw material are transformed into molten iron and slag. So let's get started. Coming to our core slide, which it all begins here. The blast furnace is a massive counter current reactor. Solid burden like sinter and pellet descend from the top, while hot reducing gases ascend from the bottom. The magical interaction between them produces our two main output, liquid hot metal and slag. But not all burden is the same. Each type is engineered with a specific chemistry. Sinter is a highly basic while acid pellets have a low basicity. The goal is twofold: create an optimal final slag and ensure the material can withstand high temperature without crumbling, which is vital for maintaining gas flow. Now, coming to our next slide, which is all about the first major hurdle, that is in a reduction and disintegration. As hematite transform into magnetite, its crystal structure expand by about 10%, creating immense internal stress. This causes the particle to shatter into fines. Crucially, it is the secondary hematite in the sinter uh, that's the main culprit. And this process can generate a maximum 20 to 30% fines, which is a good volume, which choke the gas flow and cripple furnace efficiency to a large extent. As material descent, the reduction mechanism changes with temperature. Up to 1000 degrees centigrade, gas reduction using carbon monoxide dominate, but past 1200 degrees centigrade, direct reduction with solid carbon takes over, a highly heat consuming process. Between them lies the reserve zone, a stable region that shrinks when the furnace is pushed for the higher productivity. Now things gets messy. Around 1200 degrees centigrade material begin to soften. Local melts form in area rich in FeO and silica, causing the entire bottom layer to collapse into an impermeable cohesive zone. This primary slag is a mix of gangue and a lot of iron oxide. Notice how acid pellets soften and lower temperature than the flux sinter. The melting point of this primary slag is not fixed. It is a delicate balance between iron oxide and basicity. A key finding for operator is that for every 0.1% increase in basicity, the liquidus temperature rises by about 50 degrees centigrade, and this type of formula can able to help operator in perceiving the spontaneous decision making easily. This is why the high ash coal, which is rich in silica, can be problematic. It forces a higher basicity and raises the melting point to a huge extent. Here is the moment of creation. The first direct reduction strip FeO from the melt, consuming huge amount of it, and then molten iron touches coke and soak up the carbon. This carbon dissolution is a game changer, crashing the melting point from 1535 degrees centigrade to about 1150 degrees centigrade. And finally, the now fluid iron droplets separate from the slag and begins their drip down. The furnace is not uniform. It has a hot heart and a colder wall. In the center, you get hot metal with a high silicon and slag with a low FeO. At the wall, it is opposite, low silicon and high FeO. The final product tapped out is actually a blend of this different regional composition, and understanding of this is must in order to have a homogenized iron and slag from the tap hole. So where do the elements go? It's a great partition. Almost all phosphorus end up in the hot metal, which is undesirable. Manganese prefer the metal, but silicon and sulfur are mostly captured by the slag, making silicon a key thermal indicator and slag the primary cleanser for sulfur. Speaking of silicon, it is the single most important indicator of the furnace thermal health. Its reduction is massively endothermic. It forms in two stages. First as SiO gas in the raceway, which is then reduced to silicon that dissolve into the hot metal droplets. So now controlling silicon is very important. So how do you control it? To decrease silicon, you have a whole dashboard of levers. You can run the furnace cooler, lower the flame temperature, improve coke quality, reduce ash, increase stop pressure, raise hearth basicity, or simply increase the production to reduce contact time. Now let's talk cleansing. Over 80% of sulfur comes from the coke and coal. It dissolves into the iron, but it removes by slag through a key reaction with CO. The distribution ratio LS improve with higher basicity and temperature. A cool bonus is that extra desulfurization happens in the tap hole itself due to the pressure drop. Now, slag is a design product. Over 90% of it is just four components: silica, calcium, magnesia, and alumina. We define its character using basicity ratio like B2 and B3. A typical slag has about 40% CO36 SiO2, balancing fluidity and melting point. So the slag flow properties are getting controlled by this component. So for slag to flow, its viscosity must be below 5 pours. The biggest challenge here is alumina, which dramatically thicken the slag, and there is a constant trade-off. Increasing basicity lowers viscosity but raises the melting point. So operators must find the perfect sweet spot. So the contingency planning is must, and during the furnace startup, high coke rates cause silicon to skyrocket. This stills the silica from the slag, sending its basicity and melting point through the roof. The slag can solidify in the wash, causing major disruption. The solution is proactive. Use a low basicity burden with a siliceous ore to provide a silica buffer. So now the one important aspect which is about a flooding constraint. Finally, there is a hard physical limit to production, as all of us know. All the liquid metal and the slag was ripped down through the cook bed, while gas especially fight its way up. These create a flooding constraint. Very few furnaces can process much more than 22 cubic meter of liquid per square meter of hearth per day. Higher slag volume or poorer coke quality directly caps the furnace maximum output, and that's the incredible journey from the solid burden to liquid metal. It's a complex dance of chemistry and physics, all governed by principles of permeability, heat management, and clever slag design.